Thank you for joining. Here at Intimate Conversations with Men, we are inspired to bring guests that help inform and bring solutions to some of our men in the world. Today, we have a very special guest. I find this individual to be very inspiring, and I hope you enjoy this interview. But first, let me tell you a little bit about him. Mike Lane. And he has a lengthy bio, by the way. So I'm going to read and I'm going to read everything. So bear with me, be patient. We're going to go through everything. Dr. Mike Lane's passion is guiding people into their bodies so they feel empowered to take care of themselves intelligently and effectively. He is a chiropractor, anatomy teacher, and master foundation training instructor. Oh, I love that. Over the last 25 years, Dr. Mike has studied a wide spectrum of healing modalities, including chiropractor, zone therapy, Hendrickson method of orthopedic manual therapy, craniosacral, active release technique, ART, foundation training, shadow work, and men's work. He believes that many of the most diseases stem from the mind distracting you from your body inner wisdom. Innate wisdom, pardon me. I love this already, where this is going. Dr. Mike is the founder of Anatomy Sense, a dynamic approach to teaching anatomy in yoga teachers' trainings that inspires the avid, I hope I said that right, students' quest to understand themselves and their students. He also teaches foundation training, a performance and postural program designated to optimize health through movement and awareness. Wow, movement and awareness. In his years of practice, he has found foundation training to be the #1 home remedy for healing and vitality. I want to listen to you already, but I have more to say. Dr. Mike also leads weekend retreats for men, supporting them in becoming more compassionate and vulnerable. Mike, may I say, I have never met you, but I already love you. I just want you to know that. With all the respect. You and I have something in similar, and many things probably, but one of the things is that you have some inspiring work on helping, you're inspired to help men, definitely, and we do it in different ways. So I have many questions for you, but the first question I want to ask, because it's evident for those of you who are only listening, he's wearing a shirt with a loud pink color saying love is a choice. And I want to know everything there is to know about love. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, where to begin on that one? That's a big one. Yeah, this shirt is inspired by one of my brothers that I am in a men's group with, as one of my dearest friends. And he's made these shirts, and I love sharing them in my men's groups and just wearing them all over town because it always sparks up a conversation. And for me, love is a choice is a statement surrounding that, I can choose to be in my mind and lead my life with a lot of the patterns and traumas that have happened and stayed locked in my mind. But then I could also choose to go down into my heart and be in my body and be more compassionate. And, over the last 25 years, especially over the last 8 or 9 years, it has been my quest and my goal, and it is a goal that, I try to strive for every day, being a father, a husband, a son, and a brother, to come more from my heart and to choose to be more compassionate and to, allow my mind to guide me in my office when I'm seeing patients, but not to let it rule my relationships. So love is a choice is really, a mantra for where am I choosing to come from and how am I choosing to relate with people that are closest to me and people that I'm just meeting as well.
I love that answer. Thank you so much. So You have multiple modalities, but you also in the bio says that you perceive that one of them, there's the number one home remedy for healing and vitality, which is foundation training.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that, how that works? And if you don't mind also sharing an experience that you had with one of your patients, and so we can visualize that.
Yeah, so foundation training is a postural-based exercise program that is designed around body weight exercises that really mimic a lot of the normal basic movement patterns that our body is designed to do. So an example is a lot of people will move and lift from rounding of their lower back because that's how they might be trained to move in yoga classes where they do slow roll downs, or they're sitting on the couch a lot of times and their back is hunched over. So introducing people to become more hip-centric, moving more from their hips, where all the power and the strongest muscles of our body are, and they're right in front of and back of our center, which is our dantian, which is an inch or two below our belly button. So foundation training came into my life back in 2014 from a patient who recommended that I take a look at it. And when I first did the training, I remember having, low back pain from what's called like museum walking, like walking and stopping, walking and stopping. And when I finished the first training, which was 4 days at the time, I didn't have any back pain for probably about 8 or 9 months. And then when I went back and took the training again, I really started to understand how these basic movement patterns can translate into healing throughout the day. So by bringing awareness to how I'm moving throughout the day can bring more awareness to a lot of the common pain patterns that people experience and come in to see me with. So like low back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain. And a lot of them happen from what's called complacent adaptation, of where I'm just adapting to gravity being absorbed in my body. And then from this place, I have, short chest muscles. I have compressed neck. I also have tight butt muscles. So then when I have those and I go to the gym or I do a lot of my regular exercise things, I'm coming from a place of shortness in a lot of parts of my body. So I teach people how to breathe differently, more expansively. So breathing up into the rib cage, to teaching them how to expand their body. And that could be a metaphor for many things. It can be, if I create more expansion in myself, emotionally, I'm able to open up as well. And anatomically, if I have more space, then I have better digestion. I have less compression on joints and less compression that then can lead to a lot of the problems and pain that people come into my office with. So when a patient comes in and sees me, they might have chronic low back pain. Typically, it's usually low back pain. And they don't know why. They come in, they're like, I've had this, this kind of back pain for a period of time. And then all of a sudden it went out, and then they're in a lot of pain. And it's a lot of those unaware movement patterns that they're doing throughout the day that then start to build up to then lead to an injury. So teaching people how to resist gravity with breath and also head position, because as the head goes forward, it starts to compress the chest, the shoulders round forward, and therefore that's where a lot of my movement patterns will be coming through. So teaching people about where to engage, and a lot of the times that's more of a central channel of their body. So getting their inner thighs stronger than their glutes is a really important thing, because a lot of the times when I'm sitting or my patients are sitting, their knees come away from midline. And when the knees come away from midline, then it shortens the glutes. So then their sacrum and lower back is kind of tucked under. And over time, that can lead, it doesn't always lead to dysfunction, but bringing awareness through talking to people about normal daily movement patterns and then how to change them so that when they're at the kitchen sink, when they're picking up their kid, when they're sitting in the car, they can do these little micro movements and exercises to undo the normal unconscious movement patterns that they're doing. And then I bring foundation training into the men's retreats. It's a real nice, subtle way of getting men into their bodies and being able to express to me what they are feeling. Because in my experience, I've asked men in group, like, do you feel this right here? Do you feel what I'm trying to get you to experience in their body? And they might be like, I don't I don't feel it. And I touch their hamstrings, which are the muscles in the back of their thigh. They're like, oh, yeah, I do feel that. I just didn't know exactly what you wanted me to do. So it's a nice, slow invitation for men to get into their bodies, to start feeling how everything is interconnected. And then that can then open them up to more deeper emotional work.
You just blew my mind. I'm thinking this can be just one podcast conversation. All of this. Thank you. I've never heard of that. Well, I don't want to forget to ask. I have a lot of questions, but is this something that you do primarily? Is this therapy?
Yes. So in my chiropractic practice, I specialize in orthopedic massage therapy. And then I also do chiropractic. And then I usually teach them an exercise or two, how to decompress and how to expand, so that then the adjustments can last longer. Because a lot of the reasons why they might be experiencing pain is because of the unawareness that they're having throughout their day.
Mike, where are you located?
I'm located in Central Oregon in a town called Bend.
Okay. And do you teach any of this online, or all of that occurs at your office?
I have gone on and off of teaching online. I will do Zoom calls for patients around the world. And then I also do some classes and workshops in Bend, and I do them also around the world. I've been to Berlin, I've been to Amsterdam, I go to Kentucky, and I also bring these foundation training principles into yoga teacher training. So then the students have a better understanding of how they could actually add a little bit more strength rather than just the whole stretching component.
The flexibility. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this. I am introducing new subjects of muscle and exercise to my body. So this is very interesting to me, and I'm very interested in this subject. Okay. Thank you for that. And let's talk a little more about your men work, or, where you do your events. Tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, so I'm working on my second book right now. It's more of a manual. The first one is Anatomy Sense, which is that guide for anybody, but especially yoga teachers, to understand their bodies. And the second book is called Sensational Men, and it's not directed just towards men, but any human. And it's a guide. It's a 6-week course of helping people understand 5 or 6 basic emotions and starting to understand the sensations that are associated with those. It's very similar to guiding men or anybody into engagement of muscles to their body, because that's a muscle as well, right? When I go to the gym, I'm flexing a muscle, it gets stronger, I become more aware of that. I find that the emotional body is very similar, because as a child, I have an 8-year-old child, and very emotional, as they should be. But then at some certain point, either through trauma or from them modeling their parents or being told not to feel, that muscle can start to atrophy. And through these workshops that I teach and share with men especially, it's about reawakening those sensations in their body via movement of foundation training, or, the other simple mantras by putting their hand on their heart and just starting to feel what is in there. And once they start to feel, then it's how do they translate what they feel into words to communicate? So then therefore, then they could ask for help if they need it, or they could say what they need or say what they don't need through boundary setting. But the weekends, like I just had one 3 weeks ago with one of my friends. We had 11 men. We were up in the forest, and it started off with a sweat lodge to help open them up. And then we did some breath work, and then we did what's called carpet work. And that's around one of my specialties that I've been studying over the last 7 years is called shadow work. So being able to bring light to the darkness and being able to turn around and see the shadow that has been casted by all the light in my life. So the carpet work is a pretty intimidating, confrontational experience of where I'm standing face to face with another man, eye to eye, heart to heart, and having a conversation of what's happening with them in the moment. And through that, then things start to naturally open and start to unwind. I have no plan when stepping with that man. I start using sentence stems like in my heart, I feel, and then they answer, or in my eyes, I feel, and then see where that takes me to the next question. And through that, it opens up the vulnerability gateway into their heart, into things that they might have been holding on to for decades.
Wow. What inspired you to do this work specifically with men? I assume that you only did this with men.
Yeah, I've only done this with men. I have been on retreats, co-ed before, but the inspiration comes from how it's transformed my life as being a better father, a better husband. Feeling the expansion that happens through these retreats is really potent, but then also returning to the retreats. I remember going to retreats, being expanded, coming back into regular life and feeling the contraction, and then going back to the retreats, opening up deeper. And through that, I joined a mentorship with Robert Masters, and we had about 10 men in there at one point, and now we have a group of 6 men that are still together, and we get together 2 times a year with 6 men over the last 6 years, and we work with each other. We know each other probably better than our best friends do, than our partners do. We know our patterns. So when we come in, we start working on really potent stuff, talking about things that might not normally talk about with another man just out in public.
So would you, is that something that you will define or describe as intimate connection?
Very intimate connection. Yeah, very vulnerable connection. And for me, I'm a very vulnerable person and a very open person. And I found over the years of doing this work that my greatest growth comes at that edge of vulnerability and fear, especially being in a place, being guided by someone who's extremely compassionate and has also done the work very deeply as well. I've experienced, working with some people who might say they've done the work and could kind of tell that they're playing it or they're doing some form of spiritual bypassing, that they say that they've done it, and then they can only guide as far as they've gone.
Okay, so since you define yourself as a vulnerable man, I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
You said earlier that the work has made you a better husband and better father. So what was your own perception for you to judge yourself as a, or do you have a perception before that you could have improved? For you to say better, that means before was worse, I guess. You had that perception, or you just did the work and realized that the actions and how you behave among those, your family, your wife and your kids changed. Do you realize that first, or you realize that after?
I think it's a little bit of both. And I think the words that you're talking about that trigger something in me is shame. Especially in men, there's toxic shame, which is the judgment of what I've been doing and breaking myself down, versus healthy shame of seeing how I want to improve and actually create more intimacy.
Correct.
And recently, even though I was co-facilitating this men's retreat, we had an exercise where we were asking the men to say, we asked them the sentence stem of the man that I'm bringing home is, and they would answer it. And mine was being a better father. And how that translated to when I came home is, instead of when I wake up in the morning and just want to get out of the house, which is, kind of fear-based stuff of dealing with a high energy, really loving child, but very high energy, I would just want to go to my office. And realizing by staying with him is actually opening up more intimacy for myself and my son. And I noticed that changed dramatically coming home from that retreat, even though I was co-facilitating it. Because for me, even leading these retreats, I get triggered, and I also learn a lot about myself and the reflection of what these other men are sharing with me.
Definitely an opportunity to learn yourself.
Absolutely.
You said something, and I'm a woman, and like somebody very wise said, you will never completely understand the mind of a man, and a man will never understand completely the mind of a woman.
That's the magic. That is the magic, yeah.
I said I have worked in this head and my own for so long that I took the easy way, and now I'm trying to understand men. So good luck to me, right? So you did say it earlier that find be intimate with myself. What it that looks like? Can you describe that? What it that looks like in a man?
Yeah, so for me, like I recently lost my father. He passed away last August, and for me, even with all of the trainings that I'd done and all the emotional stuff that I did, it didn't make the grief any easier, but it allowed it to be a little bit more accessible. And for me, being intimate with myself is I've created a playlist that's called the Cry playlist. And I have certain songs that have moved me and continue to move me, so that when I either put them in my headphones or put them on surround sound here in my house, it triggers that emotional experience, usually through sadness and grief. And I will allow myself to just fully cry and be just immersed in it and allow that energy to move through. Because in my sharing with these men, it's about using the tools of the emotions to get to the energy that my mind is trying to control. So it's just a tool. So I'm using emotions, I'm using foundation training as a tool to get into my body, to release that energy that I have experienced in my own body, that by resisting it can then create jaw pain. I've gone through bouts of depression. I've gone through bouts of drinking more, which I'm happy I'm not drinking anymore. But all these different things that then can lead to addictions. And that's usually by turning away from the shadow versus turning towards it. And the vulnerable part as well is reaching out to my brothers in my men's group. We have a monthly call. Some of them are my best friends. My friend Luke, who sells these shirts, we talk as if we're brothers, telling him what's going on. He can reflect back, or he can even just listen.
Mike, I have never lost a parent, but this is a personal question for you.
Yeah.
Would you please describe or try to explain to me what does it mean for a man to lose his father?
Well, still in that process of what it means. Grief is something that I've experienced in the past, but not grief like this. Being able to be with my father on his last day was truly a gift. To snuggle with him and tell him everything that I've ever wanted to tell him and feel that connection. And then when he passed, I was able, after he passed, I went back to my RV and went to sleep. And probably about an hour and a half after he passed, I heard his voice come to me and tell me how happy he was and how free he was. And in that moment, it was like this gift that I got to experience, the both flip sides of the coin, the grief and the sadness of losing my father, but then also the happiness and joy of seeing him free from his condition. And being a son that loses a father who is also a father was also very overwhelming at first. I didn't know what that meant. I talked with some of the brothers in my group. I talk with my mom, who's also does a lot of grieving counseling, and she sings to people when they're in hospice care. It really opened up my relationship deeper to my stepmom and to my brother. But the meaning for me of what really came through is that this body that I inhabit is highly sensational, and it also has an ego. But in the process of seeing my father die, just to see him in spirit expanded my awareness of what living actually is.
That's beautiful. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes I forget that I'm the host of the podcast and I'm supposed to ask questions.
Yeah. And even in that, like, I got to be really aware of how I would go through these phases of grief, of crying every day, feeling deeply. And then there was a certain time about 2 or 3 months into it where I vacated that because it was just so intense. And I would find myself doing things like smoking marijuana just to numb myself, because as connected as I am, my shadow is also to pull back because I feel so much. But it was a great awareness to really experience this gift of life is also the process of losing it. And, feeling myself undulate and go back and forth between like really wanting to feel myself, and then at times of like wanting to vacate and wanting to hide.
What makes men being so terrified of doing emotional work, or which for me is a reflection of truly seeing themselves, right? Become vulnerable truly. What makes it so terrifying?
That's a very good question. The intensity of the physical, emotional pain can be so much. I mean, I've had pain before in my body of injuring my knee, but the pain of crying deeply and almost feeling like I'm collapsing on myself, and just my facial, just everything just coming inward, that pain. I mean, the nervous system is designed to tell me that I'm in pain, but it's also designed to keep me out of pain. Mm-hmm. The brain wants to limit things that cause pain. Mm-hmm. So it's going to create strategies to avoid it. And so that's sometimes then the mind, the choice, if we're talking about love as a choice, the choice sometimes to go up into the mind of like, I don't know if I want to feel deeply right now. I don't know if I'm ready right now. And then times it'll swing back in and I'll feel like I have more. It is really a process of slowing down. And when I move too fast is when I get ahead of myself and I leave my heart and my inner child behind. And that can even create pain too, the shame around leaving myself. So coming back is also painful, and realizing like, wow, I've been avoiding this for weeks. So then not only am I feeling, that compound pain that I haven't been dealing with, but then there's also just the pain of the experience as well. And it is, I mean, I've seen lots of men feel for the first time as an adult, mm-hmm. and they don't know what to do with that. And an experience that I've seen, and like a metaphor is like a man is sitting on a boat in the ocean, and that tide of that emotion is just carrying them, and they don't know what to do because the emotion is so overwhelming that they feel they're going to be lost out at sea. And teaching them about the breath and the awareness, and to also be able to pull back and be like, okay, I'm looking around. I actually see like I'm not in danger. I'm just really feeling a lot of emotions right now. Mm-hmm. To give them that choice to, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go back on shore for a little while. And then I'm going to go back out in the boat and work on it together, or work on it even more. Because sometimes with the emotions, it feels like it's never going to end. And that sometimes for people is overwhelming.
That is true. For someone who has not experienced that, and I have met many individuals, even, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, who never experienced something like this. And very intimately in their own hearts, they want to do it, but they are terrified.
Yeah.
What would you perceive is a first step into helping them to express that?
Setting is extremely important. Being in a place where a man feels safe, a container is set. Sometimes for people the word therapy is overwhelming, that they're going to have to talk about things all the time. But just getting a man to feel, and even just to be able to admit, I'm feeling a lot of grief right now, and I don't know what to do about it. That even itself can kind of pop the cork of that pressure cooker in their body that they've been creating for decades. Like I don't even know if my dad was able to process when his dad passed when he was 17. So he held on to that for a long period of time. and he didn't do any therapy around it or grief counseling. I was lucky enough to have so many friends and family around to just listen to me talking about it. And for me, the men's weekends create a wonderful container where a lot of other men are talking about very similar things that then can give them perspective of, I am not alone in this. There's another man in here who's experiencing something that's similar to what I am. And that in itself creates a connection, some form of coherence with somebody else.
I'm going to ask you a difficult question, but it's two questions instead of one. And you choose to answer in what order you want to answer, or you want to just put two together. With what you just said, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I see there is a problem. And I want to find solutions. I want to bring options. I want to help.
Yeah.
With respect of a man feeling that way and being specifically in that situation, what role do we women play to make it worse or to make it better? And what will be those baby steps that we who want to support our men, and this doesn't mean my husband, this means could be my brother, could be my son, could be any man that is in, I particularly, because of what I dedicate my life, people talk to me easily, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I guess I have figured out somehow, right? But I don't think that skills are limited to learn more and help more. So what can we do? How can we take responsibility? How can we take action? Again, how do we participate in doing things worse? And how can we do things better for those who want to join and help?
Well, I could relate it to my own personal experience,
Please.
Of my wife and I. And she didn't know what to do for me. One, because she didn't even know what to do for herself, because she's known my father for 21 years. So in my own grieving, she was grieving. And my grief pulled me away actually from the person that was closest to me, because being vulnerable with myself is one thing, but then being vulnerable with her was even deeper. And, I remember talking to her through my grief and through my experience of not knowing really what to do. I perceived that she wasn't grieving the same way as I was, which is totally fine, because grief is such a unique fingerprint for all of us to deal with.
That is right.
But, in my experience with my wife, her being present and soft, and for me, one of my love languages is touch. So being able to be present for me, even when I was being mean, even when I was deeply avoiding my pain, but her steadiness is what allowed me to feel safe around her more, rather than her judgments of how I was dealing with it. And I think that that's a very common thing. And my wife are currently in some couples therapy right now, which has been extremely transformational in just listening, creating a safe place that we can communicate and open up. But that also is tricky, because if there's a relationship with bad communication, and especially past, where a man might feel shame for just being a man because the wife or the partner is like, I need you to be a man. I need you to go do these men's retreats. I would like you to do these things, is perceived by me and other men is that I am not great the way that I am. So it's a great question, and I don't know if I could fully answer it, but
you can give it. We take it.
Yeah, it's really, I would love for this with my wife and I to set aside time of listening and just being with each other with no guided direction of where it needs to go, similar to where I'm guiding a man in the carpet work, of just her looking at me eye to eye and us seeing each other, rather than trying to figure out, how am I going to help this man? How can I help change him? How can I help, soothe my own pain by trying to project it onto him to be something, so then therefore I can be more relaxed, right? I think that happens from time to time too in relationships. So I don't know if I answered that question.
You did. You have. You have, and more. It's a answer that I've heard, but I just want to go over and over. And but it comes with a difficult performance. So, in my perception, and I would love for you to clarify this, men have, I obviously have a lot of conversations with men, and I love listening, even just being here and giving you the space to share your own experience. A lot of men perceive to feel sometimes betrayed by feeling vulnerable. The women are demanding to be vulnerable, but at the same time, they're accusing them to being, maybe let's label it weak or not enough men. So they are in a situation where they don't know what to do, but they know for sure that it's better to hold their emotions, because no matter what, it's going to be better than being vulnerable. And around that, and what the one question that I haven't really asked or haven't really get enough answers is, what is the biggest source of shame? And you touched on that a little bit earlier from men. And I'm not, and you want to share something is fine, but I'm sure you have spoken more than the men in your group, because I could tell that, you definitely have conversations. What is the primarily source of shame on men with regards to their wives, their relationships, their kids, their family? I'm not talking about the world, I'm talking about them. And I'm speaking specifically about shame.
Yeah. One thing that comes up for me is they're not showing up. It's like a man is not showing up, meaning like that emotional side of the female that is wanting that intimacy is not there. That softness, that expression of feeling, that heartfelt connection, I think is a big one. Because as a man, I want to fix things. I inherently want to make sure that my wife is safe, but a lot of times that comes from here versus in the safety of being vulnerable. And our current therapist really kind of said something to me recently that really stuck with me, and that men are actually way more sensitive than women are.
Yeah.
But the cultural norm on men is that feeling sensitive is actually more of a weakness than it is a strength. And that then gets bred into how I interact. And being able to also play back and forth between, well, what is my role when I'm out of the house, where I might need to be strong, where I might need to be physical?
Correct.
And can I make the choice of that when I walk through that threshold, that this man is going to drop his armor, and being able to be more open. So that for me, the shame that I've perceived and experienced from my own beloved, and then also in these men's groups. And the one thing that a lot of the women ask me of why they want their men to come to a men's group is that they're not emotional enough. And that then comes back onto the woman of, well, what is it that you would like to be fulfilled that you might be projecting onto your man, instead of what can you fulfill for yourself?
Well, I'm going to say something to you in my perception, and this was new to me. As I interview and as I conversations with individuals, in my perception, the most perceived by me, the most perceived masculine men are the ones who tend to be the most vulnerable. And to the detail. And at first I didn't understand that, but they has to do something with and obviously they either did have done some work, and by work mean emotionally gone through a coach or a therapy or something. But it's definitely when it becomes, and I have a few men or some men in the interviews, you'll see it based on the way they look and the way they speak and their voice, right? And it's very unexpected. I perceive that as a woman, it's also important to take some responsibility on how we are asking or how we are being, and with those men, right? And again, I don't know, because I am in that, and where I am in as helping men with emotional. That's my where I specialize, and I can easily. But I do bring individuals who I'm not emotionally, I guess, connected with, or they paid me for, just to bring and tell me something that is extremely intimate or personal. And by that, I mean emotional. That's
Yeah,
what I.
exactly. Yeah.
So, what what makes this for you to be a priority, not just for you, but to teach or help or involve other men to do this work?
Well, years ago, I started a podcast called Men with Heart because one of my friend's husbands was being physically abused by his wife, and he didn't know what to do about it. He didn't know who to talk to. So I created a podcast about talking with other men, professionals, and then also friends about their experience of how society kind of limits what we talk about. And through that discussion, strength through vulnerability really became this kind of tagline of being able to really say, like, what I'm feeling, what I want, and what I really want to do about it. And my inspiration for doing this work, one, for me, is because I've experienced how it's opened me up more spiritually. It's actually created, like I said before, a better father, a better husband. But then, the word that's being thrown around a lot now, which I don't really like using, is toxic masculinity. It's more just a lack of emotional intelligence. And through this, I feel like I can have such deeper connections with other men by looking into their eyes rather than really talking about what's going on, and being able to be seen and to see another man, and to let us all know in this world that I am not alone in this, and that there's another man somewhere in this town, maybe just down the street from me, that is experiencing something very similar, and that my process can help him grow.
I love this. And this is what the kind of guest that I want. I didn't expect that we were going that route with you. I just, I thought that you you had a men group or men retreat that, that will be helpful. But you sort of pleasantly surprised me with a lot of other things. I have a question also. Actually, I have some questions that I haven't read. So maybe, most likely, if you're okay with that, I would love to invite you back, because I don't think we're going to cover this today. As many times as you wish, I'm going to leave the door open here for you to join me. The question that I have that came up in something that you said, and by the way, I'm trying to be so present here with you that I'm forgetting about the questions. I just want to ask questions from the information. You said something about love language, physical touch. Yeah. And am I wrong, or am I right when I say the majority of men have in the top 3 love language physical touch, or physical touch as a love language, if not the first one, in the top 3?
Yeah, I don't like to set any majorities, because I don't know, but I can only relate to myself in particular, and know that touch for me, even when I put my own hands on my body, it just really soothes my nervous system. Yeah. It grounds me. It pulls me down. It pulls me out of the clouds of my head of, like, trying to run whatever it is that I'm trying to do. And that hand on my own heart, or another man's touch, or even if it's just a massage from another female, it brings me into my body. And it slows me down.
Mike, do you perceive that this world is bringing a lack, with all the AI and everything, a lack of physical touch.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, more now than ever. There's a perceived sense of connection through social media. Even when I was doing a lot more online trainings, the thing that was lacking was that really seeing and feeling the vibration of other people that are standing right in front of me. And that lack of oxytocin, that lack of being physically held by somebody else. I mean, if all of this is tied into my inner child, my inner infant, my teenage boy, all this work that I'm doing is helping to support those parts of myself that are traumatized. So this work, I'm doing it for myself as a 45-year-old man, but I'm also doing it so then I can actually help hold my own infant who wanted to be held at a time of trauma, that then can heal that. And I've also done work for things that my father couldn't even feel. And I remember feeling like being able to cry for things that he couldn't. And I felt it have this incredible timeline of that I was healing not only the present moment, but if we even want to talk about past, if that even exists, but being able to heal my father, heal my grandfather, and heal my son by feeling what they haven't been able to feel.
Wow.
And that is a gift for me. That truly, I really feel that these emotions, being a more sensational being, because our bodies are designed more for sensation, to be able to sense our environments than to respond. That is the gift of being able to feel in this body. And with my father's passing, I got to see that the spirit is what enlightens all of that. And the spirit gets to live in the body. But being in this body, I have all of these sensory fibers that help me feel just the joy and the pain and the love and the grief. And that all in itself is a gift.
It's funny. The amygdala is a kinesthetic organ. The amygdala likes to feel, is the queen or the king of feelings, right? So this is when I think, let the amygdala, be happy.
Yeah.
So you have a son. You mentioned you have a son. As a father, with what you know, and by the way, you have a great deal of awareness. I can see that, and I love that. I myself consider myself a philosopher of who I am. So I absolutely love the way the way you answer the questions. As a father, what would you love? No, two questions. Let me ask the other one first. What are you actively doing in addition to what you just said to bring your son in to have a more healthy relationship, and I'm going to say with himself as a man?
Yeah. I mean, the greatest thing that I can offer my son is actions, showing him, because he's observing me all the time. So how I respond, what I do, bringing in, one thing that I think for me, one of the easier emotions to go to is anger right off of the bat, because it's protecting my sadness, protecting that very vulnerable part. But being able to express to him what I'm feeling and potentially maybe why I'm feeling it, so that then he can start to think and understand maybe why. I don't think that the why is as important as it is just what I'm feeling. But being able to show him that when I was going through my very deep grieving process at the beginning of crying in front of him and letting him feel my vulnerability. And I think another important thing that I know that he wants to do is he wants to come to the men's retreats, and he wants to see what I do. And I wish that, one day he will be able to, but talking to him as much as I can and seeing, how him or how my wife and I are working together, even though the last few months have been quite challenging. This new relationship therapist that we've been working with has allowed us to change our speech towards each other in a way that's more inviting. Like a prompt that she gave us that's really helping us out is the story that I'm telling myself is, and then I'll say that, and then I could ask my wife, is that true or not? And that way he can see that we are not just projecting what's going on, but we're actually interested in finding out, is this something that's actually happening? And another thing is that, even in kindergarten, one of his friends told him not to cry.
Oh, wow.
And I remember he told me about that. And that was very, very sad to hear about that, because in the grieving process of my father, he became very physical with us, especially me, and doing my best to hold that space and understand that he has no tools besides the one of aggression and things like that. So that was really pushing me to the edge of just holding him, even though he was being physical with me.
In conversations with many, 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 many men, one of the biggest, I don't know if it's mistakes, the biggest events in their lives or things that occur, especially men 40 and older, I'm going to say, which I have the most conversations with. They said that when they were little boys, their father or somebody told them, don't cry because you're a boy. First of all, is that still happening nowadays? That's the first question I have.
I imagine it's still happening for sure.
Since that boy told your son that not to cry, I guess that is the what he's seen, I guess, to certain degree. And does that what happens to a boy when he hurts?
Oh, shame. There's immediate shame, and the shame of feeling. So therefore, if they perceive something that is bad, the nervous system is going to be like, well, why would I want to do something if it's bad? The brain is designed to keep me safe. It's going to do everything that it needs to do to keep me safe, and also to receive love. So if I do something as a child that then gets a negative response, they're probably going to repeat that again because they didn't like that response. In some way, it's definitely more. There's a lot of deeper valleys and things with that. But yeah, it's still very apparent that because a lot of fathers haven't flexed that muscle of feeling in a long time, that seeing that feeling in their child reminds them of what they're hiding from. And on this last retreat, I got to work with a father and son together, and it was extremely beautiful to put these two men standing face to face with each other,
Yes,
eye to eye, and to see what happened in the moment,
how inspiring. We're running out of time, but I don't want to. Again, you're invited. The door is open to when you want to have a conversation, a philosophical, intimate conversation with the audience, and toward the end in each podcast. First of all, I'm going to ask you at the end to give us the biggest wisdom you can today. So I just want you to know that, because you already gave me a lot, but I'm going to ask you that. But before we go there, who would you recommend? Somebody else mentioned your name, believe it or not, before. Yes, you already know. Who would you perceive to be the perfect guest for this space?
Oh, my good friend Luke Adler. Yeah, him and I have co-facilitated men's retreats. We're deep friends, and he's a phenomenal human being in helping people transform.
And that's what I want. I want people to have that opportunity to see. And I think what you did today at least open curiosity for some individuals, the very least, including me. Yeah. So I will ask you for Luca's information, but the other question is, I usually do this thing called rapid fire questions. When I say one or two things and you answer as quick as you can, whatever comes to mind first. Ready? Now, this is not going to require a lot of thinking and breathing, but are you ready? Transformation.
It's happening all the time. Do I want to control it or not?
All right. Men.
We are evolving into more emotional human beings. It's just maybe not the pace that some people would like it to happen at.
Fear.
Fear is of the mind and it controls the heart. And fear is a great thing to protect the nervous system, but it can overdrive into anxiety and control.
Okay, give me 1 or 2, max 3 words, okay? So we can go faster. I have a lot of questions. The next one I'll ask you, let's go to those suckers again. Knowledge.
Is vulnerable
Fulfillment.
is what I strive for.
Pornography.
Is overused. And
Society.
yeah, society. It's evolving, hopefully, in the right direction.
Connection.
Is what I'm here for.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, pardon me. I didn't hear you said is what I'm here, but I didn't hear the very last part.
Yeah, connection is what I'm here for.
Okay, excellent. Spirituality.
That's more of a feeling than it is words that can describe it.
I love that. Did I say society already?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, service.
That's what I'm here for, to be able to share my stuff so that other people can grow.
Here we go. This one you're gonna love, I think. Music.
It's how I get out of my mind and into my heart.
Values.
It's that guiding light. It's the lighthouse.
I love this. My home is called the lighthouse. Legacy.
That's what I'm doing all this for.
Emotions.
It's the gift that I get to experience.
Authenticity.
Yeah. That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Here we go. It's a tough one. Parents.
Doing their best.
Leadership.
Yeah, it's about sharing my knowledge with the next person.
Authority.
Needs to be rewired a little bit.
Gratitude.
Is healing.
Soul.
It's unbelievable.
Happiness.
Is a part of the story.
Evolution.
Is what we're riding on.
Mind.
It's a beautiful tool.
Profession.
Can be limiting.
AI.
Is creating disconnection.
Fatherhood.
Is one of the best things that a man can be.
Stress.
Helps us grow and also helps breaks us down.
Social media.
Is toxic.
Suffering.
Is a gift and is meant to happen, but it doesn't have to be forever.
Not forever. Just a little bit. Women.
That divine feminine. Yeah.
Health.
Allows me to do what I need to do.
Identity.
Is ego.
Husband.
Commitment to grow.
Wife.
Soft and sweet.
Empowerment.
In phases.
Pleasure.
Not too much.
Pain.
Is a signal for change.
Sex.
Wonderful and connecting.
Money.
Allows me to have options.
Family.
It's what it's all for.
Physical body.
The vehicle that I get to experience this life in
Monogamy.
is where the true intimacy happens.
Wealth.
Earned.
Manhood.
At walking together.
Conversation.
Opens vulnerability.
Polygamy.
Don't know anything about it. Sounds confusing.
Intimacy.
Intimacy?
Intimacy.
Yeah. It's where I truly grow and start to understand myself.
Death.
Rebirth.
Life.
Wow, that's a good one. That's yeah. That's a lot just in that word. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I get it. I keep modifying these questions, but sometimes, like you just gave me a new one, by the way, which I'm not going to ask. I'll ask the next person. Education. We're almost done.
Yeah, needed for expansion.
God.
It's a guiding light.
And last but not least, love.
It's the ocean in which I'm living on.
I love this. You use the metaphor of the man and the emotions. And thank you for being such a gracious and generous guest, and sharing yourself. And I'm sure, without a doubt, helping others with a little bit, it's just one drop in the ocean, to how they can make their life better just by being intimate with themselves. And to close, tell me first where they can find you, Mike.
Yeah, I have a couple websites. I have MikeLaneDC.com, and I also have AnatomySense.com.
Thank you. And now, please, to close, give us your wisdom.
It's a gift to be in this body. It's truly a gift to be in our human bodies. And I want us all to start to understand that the pain and the suffering and the joy and even the love is all here for me to fully experience and not to push one away. I want to fully bring up my pain so I could feel even more love. I want to feel more love so I could actually feel deeper pain. And in that way, then I can help other people feel the same thing, so I don't have to feel alone in living in such a wonderful place. It's truly a gift to be in this body.
I think it's been the subject for me of today. The body. I hear so many things. This is one of many interviews today, so it seemed to be the subject today. Thank you. That was beautiful. So audience, just remember that the body is not just the body. That's your vehicle. That's your vehicle. So listen to your body, connect with your body, and let's body up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And join me again soon with another conversation with inspiring men. Thank you, Mike.
Take care, Elena.